everyone! This week is another do-it-yourself kit from Doll Furniture Studio. Last time I assembled a coffee table, and this time I'm making the couch kit. I learned a lot from the last project that I'm carrying forward into this one. The first one being, set up an actual space that is meant to be sanded and glued on so my computer desk isn't damaged. The coffee table only had 6 pieces to assemble, and the couch I'm putting together has nearly 5 times as many. Given the issues I experienced trying to get the pieces to slot in together, I elected to sand everything and use ample amounts of wood glue to fill in. I erred on the side of the joints being too loose rather than overly snug. I spent nearly an hour sanding all the joinery areas so they could slot together with minimal resistance. This also served as a dry run to make sure I knew how to glue all the pieces together. Another thing that I knew would be important with this build was to immobilize the pieces as the glue dried. My husband got some bar clamps and spring clamps for another project, and I figured they'd be helpful for this one. Based on my dry run, the couch had 3 more or less standalone assemblies before the final one, the 2 legs/bookcases, and then the seated area and the couch back. I started with the 2 bookshelves since they were the most prominent and visible part of the couch, plus they needed to be square and level. For a lot of this project, I am using a generous amount of glue on one of the joint pieces, slotting them together, wiping off excess glue, then using the clamps to hold the pieces together tightly, wiping away more glue, and then letting the glue set for at least 15 minutes. The gluing of the slats was something that I should have waited until the end to do, as it caused the final assembly to be a challenge, but more on that later. It was oddly satisfying to have the shelf piece fully clamped up. I think when you have the right tools for the job, it makes the whole process more fun. While with the previous coffee table project, I was flustered for the entire hour, this one felt like it was going smoothly, even though the total time spent was many times longer. What could have possibly made this even smoother was if I had more bar clamps so that I could have done more things in parallel rather than serially. But as with most things in life, and just like dolls, storage is a challenge. And honestly, it didn't slow down the progression of this project by very much to warrant having just-in-case tools around. Plus, I was able to rotate between the different parts of the couch so that parts could be glued and drying while I worked on other parts. So when it came time to the final assembly of the 3 pieces, I had a really hard time. I made the assumption that the slats where the seat cushions would rest were the exact length of the distance between the 2 long bars, but I was a few millimeters off. This resulted in the small pegs not spaced correctly. I expended quite a lot of effort to get the pegs into the slots, and was able to do so after several attempts. If you were concerned that wood glue isn't strong, don't be. The slots were a simple butt joint and they were solid and had very little give. Once the 3 macro pieces were put together and glued, I needed a way to clamp them together. None of my clamps were long enough for the full length of the couch, but of course, like always, I get an idea at the tail end of the project. I used a heavy object, in my case, a set of sockets and wrenches, and gravity to my advantage. So if you don't have clamps or the right type of clamps, this might be an option for you in some situations. After the glue had time to dry, it was on to painting. I decided to use the same wood finishing cloths that I had with the coffee table, but I did not wipe off any excess so that the color would be darker. What I learned from last time was that I should do the larger surface areas first, since at the start the cloth has the most product. I ended up using 2 cloths for this project, and for each cloth, the first parts, I painted the bookshelf sides. I mostly ran out of product by the time I got to the underside of the slats, but since it would be the least visible parts, I felt that was acceptable. The couch that I made last fall from old cardboard boxes and some hand-me-down fabric can be put away now. I don't know what I will do with it, if anything. It's functional, and for the most part, doesn't look too bad. But maybe I'll make it the guy's couch or something so that the scenes in my photo stories will have a more distinct feel. While the paint dried, I went to sew the covers of the cushions, which I didn't record since I was losing daylight and I didn't really feel like setting up lights near my sewing area. It wasn't really all that exciting anyway, since it was 4 square shapes. I used an old pillowcase that we retired when we got a new set of sheets. I'm excited that my diorama is coming together bit by bit. Anyway, that's all for this week. I still have another kit left to put together, but I may save that for another long weekend. Hope you have a good one. Bye.